All right, welcome to How to Submit a Winning Entry for the 2019 NAIOP Northern Virginia Awards. We're happy you are here. My name is Jonathan Smith with STAMPCA and the co-chair for the NAIOP Awards Committee, and I'm joined by my extremely handsome young friend here, Chuck Clark, the former co-chair and veteran of judging sessions, and Kathy D'Amato with NAIOP Northern Virginia staff. We will be more than happy to answer any questions you may have, but ask that you hold them until the end. If you are listening to us online, use the chat feature to submit questions. Please select Chat All so everyone can see the questions that are asked. Let's get started. First, I'd like to say thanks to HIT Contracting and Fidelity National Title Insurance Company for hosting us today. Today, I'm going to walk you through the submission process. While some of you may be familiar with the process, we are assuming that all of us are new, and so we're going to be breaking it down to the basics. We'll review the entry guidelines, including what's new for 2019, and some sample award-winning entries and marketing slides. Then we'll explain some behind-the-scenes details. What happens after you submit? What's the judging process like? We'll also go over some helpful hints. And finally, we'll open it up for questions. We all want you to leave with the confidence of knowing how to submit a winning entry. The process. First, I hope you're here because you have a project to submit. Once you've identified your project, there are a few simple steps. Submit an intent to enter by August 29th. Entries are monitored by the NAIOP staff for a couple of reasons. They check for duplicate entries, and they make sure it's submitted in the correct category. You'd be surprised how often that isn't correct. Intents to enter are not binding. First, you're going to gather your team. Make sure to get the permission from the project ownership. You'll want to seek input from other team members like the architect, broker, general contractor, etc. This helps make a well-rounded, all-inclusive submission. Also have someone read it who isn't involved with the project. That will give you a good idea of whether you've covered.
Technically Arlington. Okay.
Schedule a professional photo shoot. This cannot be stressed enough. Crisp, clear photos make all the difference. For capital improvement,
So it's Western Virginia.
Reuse projects, we strongly suggest before and after pictures shot from the same angle as possible. Submit entry, photos, and submission fee by 5 p.m. on September 20th. Decide if you want to sponsor the event. This can be either for your company or the project team. Log in early to get the most bang for your buck. Design a marketing slide to be shown in the foyer before and after the gala, and submit by November 8th. Award entry guidelines. This document, found on the NAIOP website, contains all the needed information to determine whether your project can be submitted. Review the categories, deadlines, instructions for writing your submission in detail. Most importantly, make sure your project fits the time frame from April 1st, 2018 through September 20th, 2019. Instructions on how to format your submission can be found on pages 2 through 4. Our committee has done its best to make the instructions as clear as possible. They are broken down into building and interior categories and transactions, which are further broken down into sales and lease instructions because the information needed for each is different. Submissions should be on 4 pages or less. The only exception is a master plan submission. We will require a site plan and an aerial photo, so only master plan submissions can be 6 pages. More information can be found in the guidelines. This may seem like an obvious statement, but please follow the directions and only use bullet points. It makes your submissions easier for the judges to read and review. Your submission may fit into more than one category. Read the categories and definitions carefully to pick the best one. If you have any questions, Kathy D'Amato with NAIOP can reach to answer them. If If you're submitting in two categories, that's fantastic. You'll need to submit two packages that are tailored for each category. Do not submit duplicate packages. Note that there are other entrance fees as well. We have split the building, hospitality, and retail category into two separate categories this year. Last year, we discovered that the combined category is a little difficult to judge. Hospitality projects include luxury hotels, resort and theme hotels, convention hotels / conference centers, limited service hotels or motels, and or casinos. Retail projects can be street front, a suite in a retail center, first floor of a commercial office building, or a standalone pad site. Examples include restaurants, entertainment venues, fitness venues, wineries, breweries, beauty spas, and traditional commodity stores like clothing, jewelry, and books. If you're submitting a chain venue, how is this location different, special, or award-winning? A good example of this is the Mellow Mushroom in Chantilly. The restaurant's theme is flight-related because of the proximity to the National Air and Space Museum with Orthopedic Center. Clearly unique because of its location, it was an award-winning submission last year, but more about that project later. Earlier in the presentation, I mentioned this form is important. Here is an example. Fill this form out for the following reasons. A, it puts your project on the radar. It allows NAIOP to identify duplicate entries so you can work together. It can answer questions regarding categories. The committee reviews and can encourage other projects to submit. These are not binding, but you will receive reminders about upcoming deadlines. Now I'll hand it over to Chuck to talk about the process.
We're calling this telling your story. A couple years ago, Davis Carter Scott created this slide to help explain the process they go through in putting together submissions, many of them award-winning. We think this is an excellent summary. Awards are not based on free pictures. Tell the judges how and why you did what you did. Make it a compelling story. We were asked how long this process takes. It's dependent on the team. However, there are only 43 days left until the deadline. Don't wait till the last minute. We have a few sample submissions. The first one we'll start out with was a capital improvements project. We're going to review 4 award entries from last year. Each of the submitters, project teams, gave permission for us to show and post these submissions on the NAIOP website as examples. The only difference between what you can review and what they submitted is that the project costs have been removed. The first sample is Coppermine Commons, submitted by David Carter. Color-coded narrative was easy to read, and the write-up was clear. Discuss the topics asked for in the entry guideline. The photos emphasize points in the narrative, and they included before and after shots, made it easy to see the transformation. Next is a sample of interiors. Accenture Cyber Fusion Center, submitted by Forum Architects, won in an interior category. The bullets were detailed and provided a visual with words. For interiors, it helps to see movement through the space. The judges like the inclusion of a floor plan with numbers that corresponded to the photos. It helps them to understand the space better. Our next sample is an R&D industrial flex submission. Ashland Crossing, submitted by St. John's Property, is a great example. The project was submitted in 2017 but did not win. It was resubmitted in 2018. The revised submission narrative was more concise. They changed the photos to show the dimensions of tenants. They even fixed their left margin from the previous year so it would accommodate hole punching in the 3-ring binders that the judges are issued on. Result was an award of excellence. Always consider whether a project can be resubmitted if it fits the time frame. Each year we have different judges. With an entry that has been tweaked, it could be a winner. We had 3 resubmissions that won in 2018.
Can I interject and please tell the people that are online to mute your microphones? Thank you.
Our fourth is a retail entry. Mellow Mushroom, previously mentioned, was submitted by Architecture Inc. The restaurant won in the hospitality retail category last year. This is a great example of a chain retail establishment that creates a unique identity within the chain. No other Mellow Mushroom will look like this one. It plays to the surroundings. For the retail and hospitality categories, this uniqueness is essential. Additionally, the entry is well organized. The photos relate to the floor plan and to the narrative. Submitting your entry. When your entry is complete, go to the NAIOP website to submit. Fill out the cover form. Once filled in, you will be able to upload the permission email from the owner, entry as a PDF, and photos. Pay your submission. Once you've submitted, you will receive a confirmation email. Hang on to this email as proof your entry was received prior to 5 p.m. September 20th. Don't wait until 4:45 p.m. to submit. Everyone is trying to submit on deadline day, and that can cause issues with the system. Last year, it crashed for a few people. Mostly, it was a problem with uploading photos. Zip files are best. You can always send the zip file through an FTP site if you have problems. Call the NAIOP office if you're having issues. Submitting, don't call and ask for a time extension because you won't. What happens after submission? NAIOP staff and committee member volunteers review the submission. They'll check for compliance with instructions and make sure it's in the correct category. We do occasionally shuffle projects into a more appropriate category. A PowerPoint is created for each category. This is reviewed by the judges and uses the pictures included as part of your submission. Submissions are photocopied and put into binders. These are given to the judges on the day of judging. The binders do not leave the room. The judging process. Judges review the slideshow for the category. They review entries in the binders. They go back to the slideshow again. Discussion is encouraged between the judges, and they arrive on a consensus on the winning entry. They do not visit the site. Judges are looking for excellence. Does the submission comply with the instructions and guidelines? Is the project compelling? Does the project stand out? Is the story interesting or intricate? Do the photos match the narrative? Do they help tell the story? Do the judges have a clear understanding of the scope? Make it easy for the judges by highlighting important facts. Some helpful hints. Only 2 to 3 photos need to overlap from your submission to those that will be used in the PowerPoint. Include different, exciting, or interesting images. Include as many photos as you would like in the submission, but stick to the page limit. 1,000-word word limit, including captions. No extraneous formatting or graphics for the pages. While it may look good, it also can make it difficult for the judges to read or follow. If you submit multiple entries, consider making them different when you format. If the judges can recognize that you have submitted multiple entries, it could work for or against you. Do you want to make that change? Would you want to take that chance? Submission pitfalls, things to avoid. Not answering questions from the guidelines, not bulleting or breaking up the text, not adequately conveying the project or project scope in the narrative, not using descriptive language instead of flowery marketing verbiage, not using professional photos, blurry photos, or photos that do not match the narrative with no context can hurt your overall submission. Forgetting to include a site plan or space layout if your category benefits from it. The judging process, transactions. Judges only read submissions, no PowerPoints. They discuss the entries, then come to a consensus of the winners or winner. Helpful hints for transactions. Totally different from the building interior submissions. Judges are different, a different set of judges. 1 to 2 pages max, 1,000 words total. Photos don't need to be included in written pages. Difficult to find appropriate graphics or photos for a transaction. Just send a couple with the submission that can be used for marketing purposes if the transaction is limited. Judges read the submission and then talk about it. No PowerPoint. Jonathan's going to talk about the marketing slides.
So the marketing slides are important, even though it's not required. We suggest you do it. It's free PR and advertising for your project and your team. It will be shown in the foyer before and after the gala. And actually, next I'll put through a couple of examples from last year. But first, here's another couple of anecdotes on this. I won't go over all these, but just follow in the guidelines. Keep in mind that the slide on the screen for 5 seconds. So you need to make sure you're appropriate, not putting 10 photos on there that you can't really scan through in 5 seconds time frame that it's up there. Too many photos on the screen makes it difficult to focus on. The PowerPoints are on 2 screens in the foyer during and before after the reception. Here's the sample. So this slide uses 1 photo. Information about the project and the company name is visible. I'll ad lib here and just say, like, this photo may have been used for the actual submission itself, but as a reminder, no team members' names or insignia should be used in the actual submission, but they can be used in a marketing slide that will be during the night of. This is another example of a slide using 1 photo and highlighting the name of the project and the submitting company. This slide is an example of good use with 2 photos and highlights team members. Yet another way to use 2 photos and highlight the team. We thought this was a strong use of background graphics with 2 photos. While we don't recommend more than 2 photos, this slide used 3 in a visually interesting way. The use of thick borders signatures in a short period of time. Borders between photos and 2 slides are important as well. Using a rendering for a transaction submission is a great idea. This is another transaction slide. It shows context within the rendering. There are many opportunities to market your projects and firms at the gala. Commit early for more visibility. The sooner you get in, the more your names are marketed throughout all of NAIOP's reaching out efforts. They're listed on our website. Some have been listed on our website since July. The sponsorship can showcase your firm or the project. It's a great return on investment. The cordial sponsorship, in addition to the bar signage and the PowerPoint that you create that will be looping in the ballroom and the foyer after the event, you can choose a signature drink to be served. One of our most popular categories is the $2,000 door prize sponsorship. You or someone from your firm can pick the winner the night of, and take us off hold. All right, almost done here. There's another handout for participants here in the room, but it's also posted on the website. Covered a lot of information in a short period of time, and I'd like to open it up for questions. We'll also review and read aloud any questions that have been submitted during the presentation. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Kathy at NAIOP if you have any additional questions during the process. Thank you for seeing what I'm sure will be an award-winning
on behalf of somebody else or whatever.
Is your presentation available?
We're gonna put the webinar on this site. We'll just put the PowerPoint on that site as well. Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah.
For the submission, you're going to have your packet that's per the guidelines. You're going to have your packet with a series of photos that are need to be without envelopes and team members and things like that. The marketing slide is a separate process. If you remember,
yeah, that's after the fact. After you've done everything and you've submitted it, then look at your marketing slide.
And they can use the same or different images that you used before, but you can also put numbers on there.
Be open for the NAIOP Awards, but you want to go ahead and sign up right now, you can. The official invitation doesn't go out until October, but it's already out there. You want to go ahead and give out the winners ahead of time. And so the only way to find out is to be there, and it would be terrible if you won. We weren't there, so we get to it has happened before, and there was nothing.
that is, but for a number of years. Just to give us some background on it, there's a binder that's a 4 or 5 inch binder that's filled with entry. Some of the categories have maybe 3 or 4 at the most, but the interiors categories oftentimes have 12, 10, 12 or more. And you really have to do a great job with the entry. It's got to almost be eye-catching. Follow the guidelines. It'll make it a lot easier and tell a compelling story.
And some of they're digesting a lot of information for an entire day. And some of the concepts that we've described in here, it's almost like the marketing. When you really try to amp up the marketing, it's almost to the detriment because it starts getting lost in the shuffle. It's almost like this is more of an engineering exercise. While you want to show how pretty the project, tell a great story, you don't want to embellish it too much to where it's just, okay, I got to move on and get to something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they have to get through so much information.
It's probably 7 hours of judging. And we strategically set up the categories so that we're not getting to a category late in the day that has 12. We invariably, I think last year was the first year in a long time we had the first category that we reviewed, we actually got a winner out of it. Usually we bypass it and come back later on. So it is a little bit arduous for the day.
Part of it is we try and have new judges all the time, not a totally new crew, but some little crossover, but getting the new people kind of on board with the process and how it goes takes a little while, and then they hit their groove and they get what they're looking at. But certainly anything you can do, like bolding something that is a point to stand out. Literally, I cannot tell you how awful it is when you send me something that's all one page and it's not bulleted and it's just hard to read. I find it hard to read, and I'm not the person judging it. So put yourself in their shoes and take a look really at the samples, because I've just tried to pull out some of the ones that we thought were better, that, really showcase different things. We had one, a sample 2 years ago, and I didn't put it back in. It might still be on our website somewhere if you went into 2018, but there was, they did it in 2 pages, and they put their pictures on the side, and they had something about each picture, and that was their whole presentation. It was just 2 pages, and the pictures were right there. Now, not every entry will lend itself to that, but this was an R&D one, and every little thing matched a picture, and it won. It was a good one. So.
Just to recap for those that are online, some of the questions earlier during our music presentation was a question about the fee, and it is $375 per entry. A member of NAIOP needs to be part of the team for that entry. And also note that winners are not announced in advance, and so NAIOP does ask that if you're going to enter, please plan on attending. It looks kind of bad if you win and there's no one there to accept. It was also asked if this presentation today will be made available online. The presentation, the PowerPoint, and the recorded webinar will be posted to NAIOP's website. I don't know, social media. I don't. Well, it'll be on the website.
It'll be on the website. Usually the things on social media direct everyone to the website. So, because that's where all the information is. These samples are on there. The intent to enter form is on there. Your registration form, everything is on our website under awards. You just have to sort of look for it.
So that's where the video will be under awards.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go back and post it.
If anyone has any questions online, please use your chat feature, and we will go over those questions for you in the room.
As helpful as this is for saying how to do it right, the example you gave of somebody who submitted a single type page without bullet points is equally helpful to know what people have done wrong. If you can anecdotally share a few more examples of obvious, goofs that somebody has done in their presentation that because of lack of following the guidelines, they were disqualified or certainly didn't show as well, that would probably be helpful to hear as well.
So somebody actually had called and asked me, can you just give us some feedback on ours from last year? And I went back to my notes and I looked at it and I said, you've got pictures on there, but there's no context. There's nothing that tells me, it's not part of the story. So makes it hard for the judges to follow. So that's a real important thing. I think formatting, people put architects in particular, likes to do these great formatting things and whatever, little lines across there and whatever, and then you get the judges saying, oh, it's another one from this company. And again, it could be good or bad, you know, whether they didn't like your other one in the other category, maybe they have a little bias against it. That's why I say don't sort of do that, kind of switch it up a little. I mean, you can make your sample look like our sample, just don't put lines in there or colored anything, just make it simple. Make sure you've got it over so that it's not the line, you know, when I, you know, get it hole punched, that you're not missing words and stuff. Do not put anything in there that is telling about your company, because if I can't change it in your PDF, I have to black it out and it just looks bad. I mean,
There can't be like a logo or anything like that.
no logo by your company or whatever. The only thing is if, for example, Accenture, but Accenture wasn't
Oh, that's
entering
right.
it,
Oh, like
right?
I submitted cancel one. It was like, it was
Their corporate office.
our corporate offices, and like, there was branding everywhere, you know, so like in all the images, it was hard to.
Yeah, but it could have been submitted by the architect, not
Right,
necessarily by
right.
Skanska, but just saying it was Skanska's corporate office, and you see that Accenture, Splunk was one last year, Splunk was everywhere in the pictures. It wasn't being put in by Splunk, it was being put in by an architecture firm. And I actually had somebody do one and literally kept mentioning the name of a very prominent architect who did all this design work and whatever, and I'm like, you know, there are holes in it because sometimes I couldn't fix it.
It ends up looking like a government redacted document.
Yeah.
I would say too, just to add to that, I'm thinking of two things where certain people miss the mark, like on, it was a capital improvement or an adaptive reuse where there wasn't I knew of the project, and it was, in a lot of different senses, a fantastic, excellence award-winning project, but they didn't show before pictures. So it was a cool picture at the end, but another project actually did show this in the transformation with the, you know, the pictures are worth 1,000 words. I mean, to the judges, these are guys that are not familiar with our area for the most part, and are also a cross-section of our industry. So, you know, it's not a bunch of architects, it's not a bunch of developers or a bunch of contractors. You may have sort of one from each. There's even some maybe from academia, and so they may not speak the same vernacular as one. And this leads me to my second point. We mentioned how having someone else read the proposal that's just not a part of the project, it's really important. You can tell when an architect drafts a narrative, and you can tell when an engineer drafts a narrative. And if you're going to be in that realm, you might only be speaking to one judge and not all of the judges. So that's another point where I feel like it's missed the mark. There's like the judges, it turns into like sort of a jury foreman type thing. You know, we can't control like who has the largest voice, but sometimes it takes a little bit of a mind of its own, and some people get swayed and some people others don't. And if you're speaking to the person that doesn't get swayed, you might be doing yourself a disservice.
We've seen some where you can tell that nobody else reviewed it. And we've even had some where on the side we looked at the project on the web and we thought, this is a great project, but they really just didn't do a good job with the submission. So have other folks look at it. That's probably the best piece of advice.
So, we have someone asking to clarify about the membership requirement. And does the NAIOP member need to be on the project team, or anyone from the participating firm can submit?
So NAIOP membership is an individual membership. However, in the realm of the awards world, if you have a member from your company, it doesn't have to be you who submits it. We just need their name on there, but somebody else can be the person actually submitting. I just need to have somebody, say, from contracting on there saying, you know, it's being submitted by HIT. Well, I know I have multiple HIT members. So if that person's not the member, it's okay, because I have lots of HIT members. It just can't be another, a firm that has no relationship to us whatsoever.
Could it be a firm, like say an architecture firm that doesn't have a member, but one of the other company team members is a part of the project that they're putting with it?
And then that member has to be the actual submitter. It doesn't matter if the architecture firm puts it together. Whoever submits it, that's who's gonna get the trophy. So if you're not the member, and we're not gonna, we gotta find a member to put on there, and that member is gonna get the trophy. You can purchase an additional trophy later, but the member, if we're a membership organization, we want to highlight our members. And that's, you know, just the way we are, so.
Can you tell us more about who the judges are, how many there are, are they volunteers, are they volunteers?
They're volunteers and they change, and we don't even have them all lined up yet for this year, so.
Last year, they were from as far away as New Mexico, and Boston, Richmond. Sometimes we've had a bunch from Richmond and Philly, but again, it's always a pretty good mix of, say, an architect, a facilities person, an engineer.
From academia.
Yeah.
They're part of the industry, but we also try to get folks that are not geographically, you know, in this area.
They don't necessarily understand Northern Virginia.
Well.
Yeah, but they also don't interact with most of our membership here in our region.
And that is something that we have to like educate them on, for example, you know, like an urban project or whatever. You know, we've been known to say, you know, what about the area that this is in. We actually talked about that for judging this year about, you know, making the presentations more about what's going on in the area. We're not asking you to do that, but that would be on us, saying, okay, so this is what we want out of this category, and these are the submissions that we have, and let's just show you where they are on the map so you get some sense of it. Because
There's a big difference between Roslyn, Virginia, and Warrenton.
yeah.
You know, we had a submission from Warrenton, and from an architect that hasn't been, you know, that's from, say, Boston, you know, realize that NAIOP Northern Virginia's delineated area is pretty wide, and we celebrate a lot of different product types in a pretty big area. So we have large build-to-suit high-rise towers to industrial complexes by Dulles Airport. And, you know, we can't compare those two together, but put them in their own categories. And
Yeah, and the first page of the entry guidelines, it tells you what our MSA is, and it really goes all out. So as far away as Winchester.
So if you don't mind me telling, there's 3 people that I know that are judging this year. 2 of them are former economic development officials, one of which is no longer in the area. And then a third is works for a developer from out of town. So that would be an example.
I'm sorry, the last one was what?
Developer from out of town.
How many total judges did you say?
6, 7,
we try to
5 to 7. It just depends on what it is.
like to end up with an odd number, for obvious
In
reasons.
case it comes to a vote, which sometimes it does.
And typically, even though they're in the industry, they are not typically well informed of the market.
We've talked about how we're going to put stuff out on a map and talk about the category first, so that people have an idea before they even go in to see the pictures and whatever. Not such a big thing for the interior, but for like buildings, it's the same. No other questions? So, I encourage everyone, put in an intent to enter as soon as possible. Last year, I had no less than 4 different projects that were being entered by 2 different people, and I had to call and say, look, you guys gotta work together. One of you enters it, one of you doesn't, and even with that, I still got one that I got the two submissions for the same project, and it was because it didn't, for some reason, I didn't catch that they were the same project. They weren't named the same thing or something, and so that.
Someone used the address.
Yeah, I did not catch it, so,
So we have another question about the marketing slide. Is that part of the sponsorship package or the awards package submitted on September 20th?
No, that's something totally different. So you've got your awards package, which is your written thing, your pictures, and your entry form, and your payment. Then after that is the marketing slide. It's free. You don't have to do anything. Just send me a slide and we'll put it in the PowerPoint. Sponsorship, totally different. We have the cordial sponsorship. We have the door prize sponsorship where it's $1,000 to us and $1,000 prize. And if you got into our awards, you know, you could have won one of those fabulous prizes when they're drawing them. And
it's a spotlight on your company or the project for a good couple of minutes, like with 800 people, you know, eyeing it up. It's turned into quite the.
Yeah, when we get some pretty cool prizes. And then we also have the excellent sponsorship. It's just $1,000. Your logo is flashing on the screen during dinner. And it's also out on our website, and your name's on our website.
If a company decides to submit the marketing slide, when is that due to you, Kathy?
I think it's like November 8th.
November 8th. It's in the slide deck here.
It's not until November. And here's the other thing with the intent to enter. If you submit an intent to enter, then you're on my radar, and I'm sending you emails. So have you remember that this is coming up 2 weeks out? They're due on Friday. You can submit on Thursday. Make it easy on yourself. Don't wait till Friday. You know, you'll be getting emails from me, and certainly everyone who submits will get an email from me saying, don't forget to send me a marketing slide. So anyway, and you might get a question from me anyway if I have a question about your submission, which I try not to.
What is the intent to enter?
We like to get those in by the end of this month, the 29th.
August 29th.
Yeah. So it's not a binding thing. It just helps me to see what's coming, and really to keep people from, you know, spinning your wheels and working on a thing and somebody else is working on it. And I will tell you that the developer always has the first right of refusal. I mean, if the developer wants to submit it, they're the ones overall, you know, versus the architect or whatever. You guys have to work together. A lot of times there'll be architects who will put together the submission for the developer, you know, that's, but that's why we ask for a permission letter. And you know.
If an applicant misses the intent to enter and just has a last minute, let's see if we can get this project submitted by clients, you can still do that.
You can do it. You don't have to submit the intent to enter. Again, this just puts you on our radar. And, you know, there's plenty of fantastic projects out there. We don't know them all. We try and track them. But like interiors, for sure, we don't know what's going on. Transactions, we don't always know. Transactions are the easiest ones, actually. If you are selling or leasing, you're a broker. I mean, they're really sort of easy. 1,000 words, you don't have to put together the pictures. You don't have to do anything like that. You just have to say, why is this a great deal? And there's a specific list of factors. You just answer the questions, and then it works.
I've confirmed the marketing slide is November 8th.
Okay, great, yeah. I couldn't remember the date I put in there. The 21st
is August 29th is the
intent to enter. September 20th is the submission. November 8th, and the awards program is November 21st. So,
Programming,
you know. If you've never been, it's so much fun. It's like one giant party.
And the submission fee, is that due when you?
Yes. And if you only can pay by check, the check should just, you know, get to me pretty quick.
Okay.
So it's a lot easier now than it used to be. I used to have to sit there and wait for packages to be delivered to me all day long.
Right.
And people get so rain. So 5 o'clock, just don't wait, literally. Like early in the day, the day before would be fantastic. Early in the week, fantastic.
That way Kathy's not stressing out because she has no entries.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, last year I had all these phone calls because people were having problems. And I don't know if it just caused the website, the thing to crash or whatever, but people couldn't get their pictures to me, and I'm trying to troubleshoot, and it was crazy. Nobody needs that on a Friday. Not me.
Last call for any online questions. Please enter those into the chat feature.
Any more?
Okay.
I noticed in the cyber fusion center, there were some renders in the process. section,
Mm-hmm.
is it recommended that we do more like photos if we do render, if we like this process, or some probably descriptive, or rendered also?
Last year was the first time we ever saw something we thought was renderings and not photos.
Okay.
Photos would probably be better.
Yeah, photos, you need photos as a baseline. I will say, you bring up a good point, specifically with interiors, and I think you touched on it in your part of the presentation. If you have, say, just a plan view of a space plan, and then you just have a smattering of photos where if you don't know anything about the project, you're just like, well, okay, that's a lobby, and then this is a workspace, but you can't really put yourself in the space itself. What that did was enable the judges to literally, and they actually took pictures. It almost felt like you were touring the space because you could see they labeled where the image was taken and what direction they were in, and it was, you can see the judges were they're like, wow, this is such a great job to be able to, like, you feel like you're immersed in the space. These people do not visit the site, and this is all they're relying on, is trying to get them into your project.
I wouldn't use renderings a lot, though. I mean, maybe one or something, but pictures are better. And believe me, if you're going to use before and after, make sure to try and line them up to be the same. I realize that's not always possible, but, at least tag them in such a way so we understand, this was that hallway before, but now that hallway's gone and it's become this or whatever, and look at how great this room is now because we redid it or something.
I think whenever, if you don't have a good before shot, but you have a great rendering and here it is built, comparing the rendering to the built.
I don't think so. The best one we ever had was in a lobby. You took a photo before. It was in, I don't know if it was black and white, but it was presented as black and white. And you just wrote yuck on the bottom of it. It had the same photo from the same spot as the finished product, and that was one of the best selling jobs we've ever seen.
And I realize your before photos might be taken with your iPhone or whatever. Yes, that's fine, but your after photos should be really crisp and professional. But honestly, sometimes we're amazed when you see the before and after. It's like, how could this even be the same thing?
And so, yeah, when you don't have the before, it does not have the same, you can write as many words about how tough this was to do X or Y, but when you see that contrast,
Or have that foresight to get those before photos.
Yeah, no, and
It could just be a really bad photo too.
Well, the thing of it is you can ask the people who were in there before, who were who want it done, if they're having their space redone, can you have any photos whatsoever? It'll make our presentation stronger, about how great we've made your office now. So, it's a case by case thing, just whatever you can use to make the point. But just know that not every winner was about the beauty pictures. We had a winner several years ago, the I-66 transfer station, which is not a pretty project at all. The building is, the second floor is cantilevered and whatever, and the judges remarked on that, but what they remarked more on was the process, the methane recovery, the this, the that, all the horrible things that they had to be accommodated to make this happen was just, the judges were like, this is amazing.
that's great. This is, while a lot of this is about design, it's not a design competition. So
That's
it's
for the architect.
a story, yeah.
Yeah.
It is a lot about design, don't get me wrong, but they judges can be swayed by, hey, there's some pretty dramatic hurdles we need to overcome to get this thing done, whether it could be a budget or a schedule, a zoning issue. Yeah, those are the things that should be, the stakeholders that were involved in, if there was something that really was difficult to overcome, those things are meaningful to the judges.
What qualifies a project to be submitted more than once because of the fact that it didn't win the year before? I thought the project had to be delivered within the time frame of the year leading up to the award.
It could have been delivered April 15th of the year before, or to the later end of it. Say it delivered in August, and you went ahead and submitted it in September. It didn't win. You can submit it again. It's going to fall into 18 months. It's an 18, April 1 of the previous year to September of the next year. So sometimes that puts stuff out of of it because it was too early, like it was in February or whatever, but sometimes not. It just depends.
All the stuff that you said to judges, you know,
It was really surprising that we had 3 of them last year that really came back and they were winners. I was impressed that the submissions were better and the judges, for whatever reason, liked them better. And it's happened in previous years, but 3 last year. That was crazy. So.
Quick question about, you mentioned how many photographs that, allow the website. So in addition to the photographs that are in the presentation, there's still some separate photographs, professional photographs?
Yeah, okay. In a zip file. Got easier.
They can be the same photos.
Okay, but it can be different ones?
It can be different ones.
Okay.
There just needs to be a little bit of overlap. So if I'm looking at this up on the slide and I see your 10 pictures up here, then I go and I look at your submission and I don't see any of those pictures that I already saw.
Okay.
There's not going to be any sort of comprehension there. So just at least have a couple that are the same. Sure. You can have them all the same. I'm just saying you at least need to have a couple because there needs to be some sort of, oh yeah, I saw that up there. And that ding, ding, ding.
Is there a minimum or maximum amount of photos?
You can only, not on there, on the submission, you can only send me 10. Okay. That's your limit. Okay. So, just saying.
I would say if you only have 8, great.
If there
Don't just send 10,
pictures,
because sometimes it's just like, you're not showing anything different.
yeah, no,
Right.
so 8 different.
Okay.
It all should be different.
Okay.
Anyway. All right, well, I think we're done. Thank you so much for coming. If you have other questions, all my contact information is on the website. Just call me. Let me know.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.